Okay, well, first of all, welcome everyone, and thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedules to be here. The purpose of this meeting is to review the global launch of CFX, the global launch event, which took place in Panama City, Panama, just recently, this past weekend. And it was actually quite a remarkable event. And so, of course, we're here to go through those details with those of you who were not able to come down. And we also have some surprise announcements at the end of this presentation in regards to a schedule that is being established by corporate. They really want to be an events-focused company. They want to be a recognition-focused company. And of course, anytime you have an opportunity to participate in a platform where you love the platform itself, of course, your aspiration always is for it to have a very long and healthy run. And of course, when you look at the structure, which you'll be doing during the course of this presentation, you'll see that those things, in fact, have been established. And we're going to show you some of the numbers behind the numbers during the course of this short presentation. And then we're also going to show you some of the rewards and bonuses that you're going to have opportunities to acquire through your lifetime of participation with the CashFX group globally. So without any further ado, let's dive right into things. Remember, the purpose, of course, was for us to go, for us to tour their facilities, for us to meet the owners of the company. And we're going to address several things when it comes to the corporate staff and their intentions, both short-term and long-term. So first of all, one of the things that I'm getting a lot of questions from my friends that are circling and looking at this project is, what's the grand vision of CFX, and are they capable, competent enough corporate team to be able to execute that vision? Well, if you've been to the Panama for the weekend, you would have heard this a number of times. And if you've listened to Waskar on Private Calls, who's one of the co-founders of the company, you've heard this term legacy company. Now, for those of you who have been in the home business space for some period of time, you know that that is not a term to be issued in a light manner. Really, the legacy companies, when that word comes to mind, are companies that are 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. They're all in the product space, although there are some very strong businesses that are still running that have been in the travel space. There's some very strong businesses that are running, and I know that some of you are part of other Forex-based platforms, some of which have been around for 7, 8, 9 years. So there are some very strong, well-run companies in the home-based business space. At the same time, because it's becoming easier and less expensive for people to start their own businesses online, accepting BTC as a form of payment in and out, so they don't have merchant processors to deal with, and they don't have all of the infrastructure of a traditional business. And many of them are just not well enough capitalized, so they often have very short business plans. In fact, some CEOs, even foolishly when they're speaking to leaders on private calls, accidentally share their exit strategies during those calls. So in this very complicated world of home-based business these days, of course, we are seeing a transition, and this transition is primarily brought on by high-speed internet. So we know that it's becoming easier and easier to have a global reach. It's becoming easier to have an impressive stature online, but often some of those projects have very little behind the scenes. So when we say legacy company, believe me, I don't take that term lightly. I will also tell you, though, in my experience, and my experience begins with product-based companies starting in 1995, and I have had the pleasure of working with some very competent corporate teams. Corporate executives, the executives behind CashFX well and truly understand what legacy means, and some of the things that they're putting in place to ensure long-term success we're going to discuss. And I think that you're going to be not only very happy, but very surprised at some of the efforts that are being made to make sure that that is indeed the case. So let's talk, first of all, we're going to talk about things that were released at the event and things that are coming very soon. I will tell you right now, everything on both of these lists. It was actually the intention of the platform to release all of these things at the event. And it is such a massive workload that they took on that some of these things are going to follow the event a week, 2, some 3 weeks, and some a month later. So let's discuss all of them. First of all, the CFX Academy. Now, many of you have had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time in this academy. You've only seen the first couple of series, I think 3 series launch in the academy so far. But what I want to talk about most importantly is the work and the money that's going into building out this academy. And then we're going to talk a little bit later on about why the academy, why it's so important when it comes to building a long-term business offering. So the academy can be found now in the toolbar right across the very top. And when you click that button, of course, this is the environment that you open. I will tell you that this is being assembled by a company that has built these and does this for a living. So when I think of academies or I think of online university platforms, I think of Udemy, I think of lynda.com, which is owned and operated by LinkedIn. These are platforms that are very tastefully and effectively assembled. Great content, very proficient in the way that you navigate in those environments. And some of the features that I love about those environments you're also going to see here. So you'll see, for example, I haven't started any of these Forex modules. It says 0% complete. But these will actually mark the place if you have to leave mid-module. There are quizzes that are required to be filled at the end of each module before you proceed to the next module. And I will tell you that the infrastructure with which this is being built on is very professional, very well assembled. Like I said before, it's a company that's building this out that does this for a living. So this is being taken very seriously. Tens of thousands of dollars are going to be spent on this platform, and it's done for not only our short-term benefit, but also our long-term gain as well. Because while most of us are attracted to the CFX business model because we can benefit from automated trading. I've been, for some of you who don't know my background, I've also worked on the corporate side of things in 3 different circumstances. 2 of those 3 different circumstances were for Forex-based platforms. And so I've seen firsthand on the corporate side of things and behind the scenes the kind of challenges that companies have in launching FX-based platforms. And we're going to talk a little bit about that also during the course of things for the next half hour or so. So the Academy is absolutely going to be a first-class product that you can be proud of. It is also important to understand when we talk about legacy companies, and we know according to MLM law and federal trade requirements that a member must be able to join a platform, maybe pay a nominal registration fee, and be able to sell that product without actually paying for a full customer package. For example, if we were talking about a physical product company, the member needs to be able to pay, let's say, $20 or $30 for a registration package. Let's say a starter kit is a term that's commonly used. And then they have the right to be able to sell that company's products and profit and then work their way up into the system from there. And that is exactly how this is going to be handled as well. That's one of the reasons the Academy is so critically important. It can't be just tossed together with a bunch of guys with limited experience and a handy cam or a smartphone video turned on. It won't suffice when you see the direction that corporate wants to go with the legitimacy of the Academy. So you're already seeing the building blocks, the foundation. Of course, more modules will continue to be added. And you all know that there are 10 different trade contracts ranging from $300 up to $100,000. And there needs to be modules represented for every single one of those trade contracts, because we also know that 30% of every trade contract is earmarked for an Academy purchase. So that's a real product purchase. So that's one of the first things that's very important. And when we talk about federal trade law, about businesses that stand the test of time, real products need to be available. And then it's the sale of those real products that actually fund the rewards plan. So if you're building something to last, you're not building a platform where you can make a passive earning, whether it's crypto trading, arbitrage, Forex, or whatever, and you're earning profits from your friend's trading result. That's highly illegal, and that is not the way this product is or project is being assembled. Secondly, And by the way, when I say highly legal, of course, it's legal if you have a securities license. And as an individual or a network marketer, you would also have to have a securities license for you to be able to earn in that fashion. And of course, none do. So let's move on to another thing that gained a lot of popular attention. In fact, one of our guest speakers, I think out of the corner of my eye, I saw her doing backflips. Well, I didn't think she could do that when some of these leadership rank bonuses were revealed during the event. So let's dive into some of them right now and help you understand exactly how we're going to talk about the math behind the math again, how the company can do what they're doing when it comes to these rank qualifications. In your back office, on the bottom of your homepage or your dashboard, on the right-hand side, you'll see rank qualifications. And these are in real time. So you'll see in this particular screenshot, the person who owns this account has already reached the rank of executive. They've already reached the rank of manager, and they're 75% of the way to the rank of director. Now you'll see in parentheses, it says 18850 under director of 250. What that means is that person has a real-time total of 188,000 points out of 250,000 points to reach the rank of director, and they already have more than enough, obviously, to reach manager and executive. Now, first of all, that you need to understand, this is going to be a 30-day rolling calendar. And the company did this specifically so it was easier for members to hit their targets. So come the first of every month, those points do not go to zero. What happens instead at the first of a month, well, the first of the previous month is chopped off, and that continues to roll on a 30-day total. So sometimes you might find yourself really close to a rank, like in this particular case, this person's 75,000 points shy. That may be a little bit more than they could accomplish over the course of a week in a really strong run, but it gives them the ability to push and really keep track of where they are in rank, and they can time sometimes their rank advancements. The other thing that's very important for you to understand is that they will be able to, if whoever turned their video on, if you don't mind turning your video off, then we'll have no videos during the recording. That'd be absolutely fantastic, greatly appreciated. So what'll happen then is you'll be able to navigate all of these ranks, and you'll be able to do so in a way that you can see exactly where you are and where you need to be to progress through this system. So let's talk then about some of the rewards that were announced during the event. For you to hit the rank of executive, if you noticed on the previous graphic, it's 25,000 points to hit the rank of executive. If you've also noticed under each trade contract in the presentation and also in your back office, it's a 2-to-1 point ratio. So if a contract costs $1,000, for example, 500 points are going towards your rank advancement. So for 25,000 points, and by the way, any of you who are determined to do so could hit the rank of executive within your first 30 to 60 days of getting started. Absolutely no question. So this is an iPad that you'll receive from your efforts. The other thing, of course, that you're going to receive, you'll notice some very attractive silver or gold rank advancement pins. In this particular case, there's a sapphire inside this executive silver pin. And what's also noteworthy is the company that is making these pins for CashFX Group is the same company that made the Olympic medals the last time the US hosted the games. So there's also a really serious, not only short-term but long-term investment of the company to make sure that this is done properly and that you're represented as you move through this rank hierarchy all the way through to your ultimate goal of becoming a global ambassador in CFX. The pins themselves, because of a culture that the owners want to create, the pins will never be sent to members. Your prizes can absolutely be sent to you, but the pins will not. For you to receive your pin, you'll need to come to one of 4 live launch events. These are the official launch events. Panama was the first. Come across the stage, and that's how you'll receive those pins. Manager is, now this is a Rolex. This is a day and time. The Rolex that you'll win is, as a manager, is actually the stainless version, and the manager title is reached at 75,000 points. And then a director, and by the way, for any of these, you also have the opportunity for a cash alternative. And the moment you hit your rank, you've qualified for these rewards and they can go out to you immediately. If you want to be paid cash or BTC instead, you absolutely can choose to do that. The next significant rank is director, and you can see now you're moving into a gold recognition pin, but this is also a $15,000 vacation for two. So a very, very significant vacation in a very exclusive location. And then when we move into the last three ranks, they're all of the four-wheel variety. So President's Club gets you into Porsche GT4. So this is the high-end version of the GT. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the GT4, this is a two-seat sports car. It's very small, very lightweight, has over 350 horsepower. So what you'll also need to make sure that you do is set aside a portion of your earnings to begin covering speeding tickets. And you may want to spend a few bucks on a laser or radar detector as well, because both of these other ambassador, then global ambassador prizes, they up the horsepower. So this is a Ferrari 488, and then of course a Huracan is the global ambassador prize, if you didn't already know, and you get to pick the color. Yeah, it's entirely up to you. Global ambassador and President's Club also unlock the unilevel. For those of you who are familiar with the unilevel, if you're not, you can simply go and watch a 10-minute presentation. It'll walk through those details for you, but you have the ability, as your team continues to organically grow, to earn to infinity. I didn't want to sound like one of the characters in Toy Story, but to infinity and beyond, because that's the way that this unilevel is built. So you're unlocking 1% unlimited, regardless of how large your team or how deep your team grows, because we know we have a 10-level unilevel. Well, as your team continues to grow organically to 20, 30, 50, 100 and beyond, you can capture a piece of all of that. Ambassador unlocks another 1.5%, and then global ambassador unlocks another 2%. So this is an opportunity for you to capture all growth, regardless of where it happens or how much happens, in addition, of course, to receiving these fantastic prizes. And by the way, we've only been in pre-launch for 90 days, and we already had individuals cross the stage earning the President's Cup prize, this Porsche GT4. So of course, they'll receive that immediately. Now that begs the question, and I was having a lot of leaders that approached me at the Panama event that are watching this platform very carefully. And the question they were asking me is, how the heck can the company afford to do this? Well, I'm going to show some of those numbers to you right now to help you understand. First of all, if you take a look at the paragraph in the middle, there is a withdraw fee. If you are new to this and you're unaware of the structure of the forced matrix and how that forced matrix is paid, which of course is different than the unilevel. First of all, the forced matrix is a bonus that everybody gets to benefit from. Now, we know in projects where there can be automated gains from some sort of trading mechanism, that there will be many people attracted to a project that are simply interested in making gains and allowing their capital to make more capital. They're not necessarily individuals that share platforms or projects with others, and they absolutely do not need to do so. So whether you're a passive participant simply benefiting from automatic trading, or whether you're an active member sharing this with others, everybody gets a matrix position. Now, and by the way, the reason that's done is because everybody, whether you're a customer that's benefiting from trading exclusively, or whether you're a team builder, all of you make withdrawals. And because all of you make withdrawals, you're all charged a 20% withdrawal fee. So all of you are contributing to these bonuses. So why not give customers the ability to also benefit? And that's why customers also earn a position in the forced matrix the moment they get their very first trade contract. And they will always have that position if they keep an active trade contract. So of that 20%, it's important that you understand the company retains 0% of the 20%. Every single dollar is paid out to you and the rest of the field. And that's broken down into three different ways. Half of it's going into a matrix bonus, 10%'s gone into a matching bonus, and the remaining 40%, which is very significant, is going into leadership rank bonuses. So let's just do a hypothetical. Let's say the company has brought in or rather, apologies, let's say members have withdrawn $2 million so far from the platform in the first 90 days. Members have withdrawn $2 million in gains. Now we know a 20% fee of $2 million would be $400,000, and 40% of that would be $160,000. So that is the answer to you. How can the company afford to do what it's doing? The company can afford to offer these bonuses and much better. So it is important that all of you understand that not only do you have the ability to get into these bonuses quickly, but you'll receive them immediately. There's not going to be any sort of silly small print that says you need to maintain qualification for X number of months and you're paid out during the course of 2 or 3 years. That's not the case. All right, so rank bonus, leadership rank bonus is covered. So let's talk a little bit about the new site. The new CFX corporate site will also highlight the corporate staff. We'll talk a little bit about the 2 owners. You'll hear more about them during the course of this presentation, Oscar Lopez and Edwin Abad. These 2 gentlemen, I think, really had a significant impact on everyone that attended the event. You don't hear as much from Edwin because his English is so-so, but Edwin's background is extraordinary, to say the least. So is Waskar's as well, and we'll talk a tiny bit about him in just a moment. But Edwin actually has an engineering firm, a very successful engineering firm, and he's also been involved in Forex for many years. In fact, he understands Forex at a level that many of my friends that have traded for 10 years and more perhaps don't quite grasp, and that's the entire Forex ecosystem, not only in the front end, which would be retail, but also on the back end of Forex, things like liquidity providers and how they make money, and how brokers often can play market maker and work against the traders that actually are part of their brokerage. So we'll talk a little bit more about Edwin and his insights and how they've affected the way this platform is structured in just a minute. Most importantly, though, many of you are asking, when are the owners going to be highlighted on the form so we can have peace of mind when I'm sharing this with my friends? That is coming on the new site. Terms and conditions will also be on the new site. You'll also have a legal breakdown, a detailed breakdown of the rewards plan. So for those of you who prefer to read line by line to really internalize how the system works, all of those things will be available very soon. A PDF presentation with new graphics is also going to be available and launched very soon. You also learned about a marketing funnel. This is just days away as well. What's great about the marketing funnel is, for those of you who have heard of the company called the Conversion Pros, the Conversion Pros is owned by a gentleman named Ron Pope. Ron is US based. He lives in Las Vegas, Nevada, and he has a very extensive staff that help him build platforms, build marketing funnels. In fact, one of the things that their very experienced staff do is they also build back ends for network marketing companies. And that's how Ron is actually involved with CFX. He got a phone call from his good friend Waskar, and Waskar and Ron have known each other because before Ron launched his company, the Conversion Pros, I believe it's 9 years old now, he used to be in the business of helping troubled network marketing companies get their finances in order, perhaps restructure their companies, and get their books balanced and move on in a profitable and successful way. And one of the phone calls that Ron received was for a travel-based program that was in many countries around the world. They were having a difficult time moving forward. Ron came in and really played a key role in helping them right themselves and have a number of strong years. And Waskar was one of the top earners in that platform. So they had a very strong working relationship a number of years ago. And of course, Waskar, knowing that Ron had launched his company several years ago called the Conversion Pros, he was the one that he felt that he needed to meet the needs of CFX, as they could not simply buy a back end out of the box. Spending $50,000 or $100,000 for a form back end was not going to work for them. They needed everything to be custom built. And that's exactly the process that's happening. So the reason that I told you that last 3 minutes of information is Ron, marketing funnels are in his wheelhouse. That's what they do. And so you'll notice when the marketing funnels are launched, there will be a series of 1 to 2 very short videos, sort of 1 to 2 minute videos, 3 or 4 videos inside that funnel system to help pull your viewer from section to section so that by the time they reach the end, in a relatively short period of time, they feel like their questions are answered, the project makes sense to them. And many of you on this call, which is primarily Europe time zones, Europe-based, will be happy to know the intention is to launch those funnels in multiple languages as well, which means subtitles in all the videos and text, so that you'll fully be able to use those to their maximum capacity. And then many of you are attending this event really looking forward to seeing trade history. Now, that was not launched at the event, so that's another coming very soon, and you're going to see that right in your back office. So when that does launch, you won't be able to miss it. There will be another ticker at the bottom, and that's going to show you most recent closed trades, but you're also going to have an opportunity in your back office to dig all the way back to the beginning of the performance of the EA they're currently using. If EA is a term you're not familiar with, I apologize. It's simply a piece of software that's designed for automated trading. EA is an abbreviation for expert advisor, and there are many EAs that have run very well historically through time. The challenges typically for EAs, we're going to get into those challenges in just a couple minutes when we talk about long-term sustainability of this platform. So you will be able to dig into trade history in great deal. You'll see entry points, exit points, and dates and times, et cetera, and so forth. So let's get into a little more detail of some of the behind the scenes. Again, if you attended, you had an opportunity to listen to two executives from one of their premium brokers. This is a regulated broker called EverFX. They're a European-based broker. They're an ECN broker. If you don't know what ECN means, very simply, it's Electronic Communications Network. What that basically means is that the broker itself is not playing market maker. It's not working against you. I'll take a very brief explanation just to give some of you who don't have any Forex experience just a real basic. You want to make sure that there's no desk dealing going on. And what I mean by that is, okay, statistically in Forex, there are tens of millions of enthusiastic retail traders. So these are people that trade from their laptop or their desktop in their spare time from home. Tens of millions, approaching 100 million, in fact. It's extremely popular, Forex. And of course, one of the reasons is the nature of Forex. Because of the size of the Forex marketplace, it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to see any market manipulation. And so it's a very safe and stable place, not only for small individuals working part-time, i.e. retail traders from their laptops, but also central banks. Every central bank for every country that I'm aware of is involved in Forex. Global banking institutions, all involved in Forex. Governments involved in Forex. Multinational corporations involved in Forex. It's absolutely massive. Now, statistically for the retail traders, 85% of retail traders, of individuals, will lose all the capital that they're trading in their first 12 months of trading. And 40% of them, 40% of tens of millions, will lose all their capital in their first 30 days. Now, obviously, a broker has the ability to see what's happening. And often what a broker will attempt to do is they will get money from a liquidity provider and they will attempt to be the bank against their traders. Because if their traders are losing 8.5 times out of 100, or sorry, 8.5 times out of 10, they would much rather be the bank themselves and keep additional profits, if that makes sense. CFX, this is absolutely unacceptable. And so one of the first keys for them was to make sure they were using an ECM broker, but secondly, to have these very serious conversations about the broker never being a market maker, never betting or working against them. And there are ways, obviously, to audit and make sure that isn't happening, but you need to do it, and you need to watch and pay attention very carefully, and then you need to bring it immediately to the attention of your broker that you saw what was happening, and it's unacceptable, and if it continues to happen, you will no longer be their broker. So all those things have already been done. That's very important for you to understand. This is also a multi-regulated broker, so we talk about FSA, FSCA, and FCA is one of the most stringent regulations, and that comes out of the UK. That's something this broker has also applied for as well. So we're dealing with a broker that already meets a very, very high standard as far as their operations go. There are also additional dedicated servers that are in place because transaction speeds are absolutely critical as CFX scales up. And if the transaction speeds are high enough, it also gives them more freedom with which they can design their EAs, their automated software. Already thousands of transactions on a daily basis are taking place. There are a number of different techniques that are being used by the professionals. And so you can learn more about that when you'll have opportunities to listen to those professionals speak, or if you come to the next events, of course, you'll have an opportunity to hear them firsthand as well. And what was really impressive to me, first of all, listening to the caliber of the executives that came to represent EverFX, but more importantly than that, after sitting down with Edwin and Waskar at the beginning, before the event actually started, and having a much closer look exactly at how and what they're doing, the kind of results they've been getting longer term with their EAs. The CEO of EverFX was very enthusiastic, has committed to come to the next event, which you'll learn exactly what and where that is in just a few minutes. And lastly, and this is a real significant feather in the cap of CFX, the EverFX brokerage is actually going to give an endorsement of CFX. Now, this is something that's not common. It does not happen every day for obvious reasons. One needs to prove themselves and the ability of their traders and their EAs and the caliber and quality of their company overall before you would ever see this kind of an alliance. But this is something that you're going to see roll out probably sometime in the next year. Now, the trading team themselves, many of you had an opportunity to speak to or meet some of those traders. Very enthusiastic bunch. What's really interesting, and I'm sure surprised a lot of people that were at the event, some of this team have not actually been trading for a long period of time. Some of them are fairly new to the trading space. However, there were engineers represented and a number of different types of professional represented in that team. And together as a group, they have just been able to create an extraordinary EA. And we'll talk a little bit more about that right now. When that EA first launched, and this was a few months ago, the results that it started to create were extraordinary. They were a little bit better, actually I should say significantly, about 30 to 50% better than what CFX was expecting. And that really put them in a very strong position right from the very beginning of the launch of the platform. In fact, one of the things that it did, I'll share a statistic with you that may alarm you, but if CFX stopped trading right now, because of the huge start that they had with an overwhelming success in their EA launch, if they stop trading right now, they have the resources to pay the field for the next 4 months of trading gains. That is a real position of power. It's a really lucky spot for them to be in. So what I want to talk about just for a few minutes is the type of challenges MLM companies, home-based businesses have in the Forex space. And I want to do this to shine a little bit of a bit of a spotlight on how this platform is running differently. So I was just checking the chat in case anyone needed anything or couldn't hear me. So I want to talk a little bit about challenges of Forex. As I mentioned before, I've worked on the corporate staff of 2 different MLM-based Forex companies. First of all, scaling. Now, some of you have been in part of arbitrage projects in the past or high yield projects in the past with your cryptocurrency, expecting to change the course of your life over your first 12 months, only to have those projects disappear in 90 days. Some of the projects that you joined had honorable intentions, and some of the projects that you joined were simply trying to grab your BTC and hit the road 3 to 4 months later. One of the challenges as far as the tech goes is when you have tech trading on behalf of thousands and into tens of thousands and beyond individuals, there are legitimate scaling problems. And if we talk about arbitrage, for example, for those of you who don't know what arbitrage is very simply, it's buying something at one price and selling it at another price. There's a lot of, for example, e-commerce arbitrage happening online right now, where you're buying something you might find at Alibaba or at AliExpress or at eBay, and you're selling it on Amazon for a profit. That's arbitrage. The problem with trading arbitrage is that when you start running your numbers into thousands of members, you start affecting your purchase prices, and you also start affecting the buy prices, or rather the sell prices of the currencies that you're involved in. So not all of your members are going to be able to actually get involved at a triggered price that the A has identified and a sale price. And so what happens then is, as those targets begin to move, the system begins to fall over. So the same thing can happen with automation in Forex. And as you start to scale up, because there have been bots in Forex ever since Forex has been available for the average individual, which has probably been over 10 years now. And every single time they have these scaling problems. And we'll talk a little bit about the solution in just a minute. Of course, one of the other problems in MLM is profitability with auto ship. So the Forex platforms that are doing very well right now, some have $100, some have $150, some have $200, some even have $250 auto ships. Where this becomes a problem as far as business building, for those of you who want to benefit from a rewards plan, is that your participants maybe take $300, maybe they take $500, some take $700 or $1,000, $700 or $1,000, and they open their brokerage and they put that money into their brokerage. And so if you're seeing what would be considered wonderful profits of, let's say, 20% for a month, and you have $700 in your trade account, well, you've had a gain of $140, and in many cases, you've only just or haven't even covered your auto ship. And so it becomes a very difficult challenge to get ahead unless you have quite a bit of capital to move into a platform so you can truly get ahead. And so the other challenge, of course, is win-loss. Now, winning and losing is very normal. It's a part of Forex trading. If anyone tells you they never lose, well, I don't want to say anything disparaging, but everybody loses. Everybody loses in Forex. Everybody wins, although some win much less frequently than they would like. So when it comes to building a platform that you're sharing with others, if you're having, let's say, a 50% win rate, 50% loss rate, and you're showing these to your friends, the average person that doesn't have an interest in trading or that doesn't have experience trading, this win-loss can really handicap them or really handcuff them and limit their ability not only to share with others, but their ability to move forward in confidence themselves. But that's the fact of life when it comes to trading. Long-term risk management is something that's also critically important. Market conditions change. That's just a fact of life. And that's one of the reasons that it's so important for us that our EAs are not third-party. They're not white labeled. They were designed by our in-house traders. Why is that important? Well, in this particular case, we've been very, very fortunate and have had a very strong performing EA. But if it's your in-house traders that are writing, and more EAs are being written as we speak right now, and a great deal of time and energy is being put into them. So traders, your own personal traders, get to identify what's working well, what could be tweaked, and they can continue to make those adjustments based on not only trying to improve the proficiency or the win ratio or the pip count, but they can also deal with market conditions as they're happening. And the reason why farming that out and having a white label product is a bit of a burden is because, of course, that's a real cost. And that's a hard cost to the company, and that takes money out of where? It takes money out of the rewards plan because the company needs to pay those, and they're often very excessive fees, those third parties. So let's talk about the CashFX model just for a minute. First of all, we're dealing with US-based legal teams. When we talk about product sales, as we did with the Academy, you know they're dealing with FTC attorneys in the US, and there's certain requirements that need to be met and are being met. When we also talk about money management, and when I'm talking about money management, I mean your money. So the gains that you're making in your back office every day, that money needs to be managed properly in a certain way. And I'll give you an example of the wrong way. The wrong way would be for you to be able to keep all of your gains in your back office, and to make it easier for your friend to join, for you to be able to take your gains and then buy a contract for them and they hand you cash. So that would go against anti-money laundering legislation at the very least. And that is not allowed. Obviously, you need to make all of your gains withdrawn properly. And there's another reason for that, of course, and a very good reason, and that is you're going to be charged the 20% withdrawal fee, which feeds a lot of other very cool bonuses that you're going to want to be a part of. So the benefits of building a business without auto ship. Well, I probably don't need to tell you the benefits of building a business without auto ship. One of the challenges when you take away an auto ship, well, you're taking away the potential of a reoccurring income. We know that auto ship based platforms, and when we talk about legacy companies, all those companies have auto ship. But we also, the reality is, with more and more digital platforms, digital products becoming so incredibly popular, the market is starting to reject auto ship based platforms. We're starting to see a huge shift in what people are willing to participate in versus not willing to participate in. And auto ship is just one of those trigger points that the market does not want, especially these days where, you know, when you're building companies, and this is something we focus on a lot when we're building out comp plans on the corporate side, is if you're going to be a global platform, how can you build something that can be afforded in India, that could be afforded in the African continent, could be afforded in the Philippines and other markets, and still have enough money that excites people in the US and in the UK and in Germany, et cetera, and so forth. And it's that balance that's so difficult to create. And that's one of the things I think that probably is so impressive to all of you about this platform. What we're seeing is something that's getting global acceptance. My friends that are building in the Philippines, in Thailand, in India, in Africa are over the moon excited about this. And one of the ways they've created a platform that has no auto ship requirement is to give you a contract that has a lifespan. And when you reach that contract, well, you have a fork in the road. So the lifespan is not based on a date or a time. The lifespan is based on a gain percentage. And that is even, and I'm going to use this example just as a customer who only wants to build passively, because that's the toughest to create interest for, right? In someone who is not even going to be able to benefit from the rewards plan. So we'll use that as an example. You've got an individual that gets involved with a contract, and that contract can earn up to 200% as a trading gain. Well, when that contract expires, that individual has the option to rebuy the same contract and save some of their profits and use some to rebuy a contract, or they have the ability to upgrade if they do so before they reach the end of their contract, 200%, or they also have the ability to quit and take their profits and just go. And all three of those are viable options. Well, one of the things that we're seeing in many countries that are, we consider developing countries, where there's a lot of quote unquote professional network marketing. So their profits are not just leisure money. Their profits are feeding families. Their profits are paying electricity bills. And so when this platform was introduced to me, and I was sharing it with my friends in some of those countries, and there was a significant requirement to take some of their gains and upgrade to the next contract, I was a little concerned that they may hesitate. But the exact opposite has happened. That my business is thriving in those markets, because what we're seeing happen is members that are participating in CFX can see that the path they're on is eventually going to get them to a $10,000, a $20,000, a $50,000, and a $100,000 contract. And those are life-changing gains. So you can start small and use your gains without going into your pocket, and over time work your way into those larger contracts. Now, for those of you who are network marketing leaders, why should that excite you? Because you have a no auto ship platform, and your entire database, every single time they move up the contract ladder, you get paid again. So Oscar and Edwin have been able to build a platform that has no auto ship, but allows you to get paid as though it does have auto ship. It's very, very attractive. Okay, now another question we get hit with an awful lot in regards to this model: why are we not seeing any losses? If losses happen in Forex, why are we not seeing them? So we're going to go into those numbers in a lot more detail for you, okay? All right, so understanding. Let's take a look at some of the numbers behind the numbers. Here's an example of a 10K contract. Now, first of all, you can see the box in front of that is representing the Academy Pack. So the Academy Pack is the amount of money. Okay, this money is going into, actually going into the rewards plan. So we have a 10K contract. Remember, this is going to be for someone who's not building at all. So they're just going to see bare gains. Bare, remember, bare is for those individuals who are seeing the trading gains. Now, even though they're not sponsoring anyone, if they get positioned in a rapidly growing team, there's a very good chance that their active upline may end up in the forced matrix, dropping builders down underneath them. So this passive participant could also still see matrix profits start to accrue for them in the future as well. We're not going to factor in, we'll just consider that a bonus, okay? We're not even going to factor that into the numbers. We want to keep these numbers as simple for you as possible. So 200% gain on $10,000 is $20,000. We withdraw the 20% withdrawal fee. That gives us $16,000. Now, it cost us $10,000 for the contract, so we repay that. That leaves us with a net of $6,000. Now, to do that as just an automated trading customer takes around 5 to 6 months. Many people think it's closer to 5. Well, I'm going to err on the side of caution and say it takes 6 months for that to happen. So that means their gain is 10% per month just by parking some of their assets in a contract, and then that's their gain afterwards. So that ultimately means that's 120% annual growth for customers, but it also means that the professional traders and the EAs only have to make 10% a month. Now, if you have a trading experience, you have friends with trading experience, you ask them if they're trading professionals and they know what they're doing. This is not something that's unattainable, okay? This is something they can very handily manage. I have friends of mine that I know right now that make 100% per month, and they do it with some consistency. What that means, though, for the customer, 100% per annum, just to give you a sense of what that means. Hedge fund, the most successful hedge fund last year, and if you're not sure what a hedge fund is going to be run by trading professionals that often get involved in all sorts of different trading vehicles that they can make money for you. They'll charge you a very heavy fee at the end, and often for the very best hedge funds, you need to be able to put a lot of money into play before they'll accept you as a client. The very best hedge funds last year were Europe-based, and you made about 55 to 60% if you were involved in those hedge funds. So any one of your friends can participate in CFX and just from the trading gains alone, do twice what the best, highest quality hedge fund would have done for them last year. That is a real game changer, especially as a long-term project that they can grow into. Because of course, that friend of yours can choose to move up the contract ladder, and instead of taking money from savings, or instead of putting money against their credit card, or instead of doing without, they can start small and work their way into larger contracts. All right, so this unexpectedly strong early EA has really allowed the company to hit the ground running and create, take a lot of pressure off not only them, but the traders. The other thing that is very important to understand, now some of you may get this first time around, some of you may have to listen to this recording again, or you may have to hit me up for more details on Skype or WeChat or WhatsApp. All right, when you buy a contract, a $10,000 contract, okay, we'll be consistent here, $10,000 contract, and that contract has reached its term, you've earned 20%, I apologize, 200% from trading gains, so you now have $20,000 that you've withdrawn. That original $10,000 to purchase the contract, where does that $10,000 go? CFX keeps it. This is very important. So what does that mean? Well, it means that their trade capital is continuing to go up and up and up. Now, I want you to also consider this. There are a certain percentage of members that will buy a contract, $300, $500, $1,000 or more, and when it hits its term, they will simply rebuy the same contract. They don't upgrade to the next contract. Well, that puts CFX in even a stronger position, and it also helps you as well, because if I have the ability, if I'm getting paid, let's say on $7,000 in play from a 10K contract, but the company doesn't have 10K to trade, it now has 20K. Well, actually it doesn't have 20 because 30 goes to the rewards plan, but 7 plus 7. So it now has $14,000 because it has my original capital as well. The company has $14,000 with which to trade and create the same original result for me. So the stress on the traders has actually been reduced by 50%. Now, why is this important? Because Anyone any experienced trader is going to tell you that there are going to be shifts in market conditions. Those things are going to happen. So when the capital of the CFX accounts continues to grow, but the payout requirements, because some members are not upgraded and they're simply buying the same contracts, doesn't grow as quickly, it means there's less and less stress on the traders to perform the way they need to perform for you to get your average, which we're seeing right now, calculates at about 2.28% per day, per trading day, 5 days a week. I hope that makes sense. It puts them in an incredibly powerful position. The other thing that it does, though, is as this continues over time, year, 2, 3, 4 years and beyond, their capital continues to increase. They also are benefiting from compounding. And so this gives them very long-term risk management strategy. And this is one of the things that I'm quite sure, although I was not part of that conversation, that the partner brokers would have been very thrilled to see, because they're not going to endorse this platform if they're having a great run for a month or two, and then the bleep is going to hit the fan month 3, 4, and 5. And so what this does is it gives the ability for them to pay out the incredible gains that they're paying out, 2.28% per day, without having an incredible amount of stress on the traders. And every month and year that passes, it gets easier for them to sustain. This is critically important. Now, US market regulations. Okay, for those of you who live in the US or you do some building in the US, one thing was announced is that there will be a temporary closure. And they use the words temporary because there is A, uncertainty, and B, full intention to reopen that US market. So what does this mean? For you that are already members in CFX, you will be able to keep your membership in CFX, and you'll be able to continue to climb up the contract ladder, giving you more and more trading gains. And you'll also be able to market outside of the US. So things like Facebook advertisements and using the multi-language funnel that you'll have access to, all those things will give you the ability to build long-term. For those of you who are leaders and you want to make 100% sure that you're planting your feet firmly on ground that will give you the opportunity to build long-term, this last point for you is nothing but good news. Because what the company is going to do, and there are very viable strategies, and I'm aware of some of their legal strategies to reopen the US market, but I'm not going to divulge them here on this call. And so by closing for now and requiring KYC, yes, KYC will be required. It's not good enough to simply say on your website, we apologize, but at present, US-based members are not allowed to join this platform. You need to be able to prove that you're delivering on your corporate stance. And so that is why KYC will be implemented in this platform. And by going to the SEC and saying, this is our structure, this is how we want to move forward, let's work together and open the US market, that's the proper way to do things. So that's exactly what's going to be happening. All right, so let's talk a little bit about customer service, because I know that many of you have tickets in that have not been answered yet. The people that popped in saw an unfinished office, but what they did see was a very, very impressive space. 20,000 square feet, an absolutely massive office. They saw where the traders are going to be, and I don't know how many, 20 or 30 monitors already up on the wall. Those had to go up on the wall early because all of their materials from a very, very high caliber architectural firm and interior design firm out of Brazil already had all of the building materials that were on boats on the way to Panama to be assembled. So the next time you pop into Panama to tour the office, of course, it will be pimped out the way that it's being designed. And you all saw the architectural drawings or the interior design drawings posted on the wall. Some of you have seen photographs of those. There will be spaces for members. There'll be meeting rooms for you. For those of you who love the idea of doing some building in Central and South America, and you want to pop into the office and use a portion of the office as your own office, those spaces will be available for you. And by the way, this was purchased by CFX. This is nothing that's being rented. The purchase price was well into the 7 figures. So the company is stepping up, and they're certainly putting their money where their intentions are. And also there will be more staff for the phones. or for customer service on the email side. And I know that they're also investigating customer service chat. So for those of you who have questions you need to answer right away, obviously the staff need to be trained up on all of the intricacies of the system. But if you can just be a little bit patient for the short term, you may have to reach out to some of us to have your problem solved, but this is the direction that they're going. So there's only one more thing for us to discuss, and that is, actually, I apologize, there's two more things. We'll wrap up really quickly though. So for those of you who have never been to Punta Cana before, and I'm also in that group, but I've heard some remarkable things. In fact, this was TripAdvisor's Traveler's Choice for this year. Some of the most pristine and beautiful beaches in the world are in Punta Cana, Dominican. So this is our next official corporate event. And I'm just throwing a few shots in of Punta Cana area. What I would encourage all of you to do is, now I have a month, and the month is March, so there's a little bit of time, but probably early to mid-March is what you can expect needing to be scheduling time for to be down at this event. And for those of you who were in Panama, you saw the caliber of the event and the way the guys operate, the amount of money that was spent on that event. It was, I'm sure they could have bought another house. It was very significant to say the least. And Waska already gave me a little wink when he was talking about the caliber of this event. They feel like they're going to have a little bit longer to prepare because the team that was built to build the Panama event, that team is now assembled, and they're already starting to get the work done to prepare for this event. So this is going to be something that I would love to see all of you at. We certainly expect to see some much bigger numbers at this event now that we've got a few runs on the board. And the other thing that I will share with you is, if you want to make sure that you are moving through these ranks as effectively as possible, I want you to focus on becoming an executive, receiving that iPad for yourself. That's 25,000 points and accumulated points, and personally sharing this with 3 friends. That's the only thing you need to do. 3 friends and 25,000 points. The next thing that you're going to do is to focus on building executives, and that's all that you need to do. If you can hit executive and then make others reach executive, well, you're going to reach all the way through to the very last of those rank bonuses. And then last but certainly not least, you'll notice that at the beginning and at the end, we had the CFX brand with a global partner. Now, this is also important. When I'm evaluating projects myself, the things that I look at are intention. I take a look at where the owners are located, what kind of risk the owners are putting themselves into. Are the owners being public? What kind of capital the owners are spending on the project? What's their track record? All of those things help paint a picture. Now, nothing offers any guarantees. There is no such thing as a guarantee for life in brick and mortar traditional business, in network marketing, in real estate, in nothing. However, if you look at a broad range of facts and statistics and details, it can start to paint a picture for you. And one of the things that also plays a key role for me in my confidence building en masse and throwing all of my energy into one project, which is the only way that I do things, is their legal footing and how serious they're taking compliance. And so for those of you who are going to be doing promoting, and remember, in all sorts of social media, there's absolutely nothing wrong with Forex. You can promote to your heart's content, but you need to make sure that you don't accidentally represent yourself as the company. That's going to get you in hot water, and accounts will be suspended. So there will be a compliance division that will be forming. What you're going to need to do, and you will receive, all of you will receive for download, the global partner brand, and that's what you'll use anytime you're doing it in your promotions. You are also allowed to show, you can't show your whole back office, but you can show gains. Those are real gains that you're earning, and you're receiving those gains, but you need to make sure that you have an earning disclaimer when you show them. And so all of those things, you'll have more details coming up very soon on how to do that. But make sure that if you're an individual who likes to promote on social media, that it's being done properly to keep your business safe and to keep everyone else's business safe as well. So with that, I want to thank all of you for being here. I apologize. We went a little bit over time. We're about 1 hour and 5 minutes. But we got it all done. I hope this has been some benefit, and I look forward to speaking with you all again very soon.